with the arrival of Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, the next Dragon Ball video game, going over the classic retelling of Dragon Ball Z, a bit of Dragon Ball Super, maybe some Dragon Ball, and just maybe some GT. If not, at least give us Baby, Super Saiyan 4, Goku, Vegeta, Gogeta, and of course, Omega Shenron. But as you can see in the title, this is a video about Sparking Zero, and what Sparking Zero proves that Dragon Ball is one of the most superior stories, animes that ever existed of all time. Dragon Ball has had over 82 video games made from the story, and still to this day, with Sparking Zero coming out, the Dragon Ball Z anime ended in 1996 and 2003 in America. And for myself, the rest of the world, I'm from South Africa, I started watching Dragon Ball from the Freezer Saga in 2004 and finished it a couple of years later. But for the most part, through the years of watching Dragon Ball Z, I kind of watched it split. So the main part that I got from Dragon Ball Z, the main story mode and how it started and how it ended, I actually got from video games, playing the games through PS2 and Xbox 360. And I was very thankful to play most of the games that came out during that time. And every game that came out during that time literally had the exact same story. Beginning of Dragon Ball Z to the end of Dragon Ball Z, and maybe a bit of GT at that time. And even though every single game basically had the same story mode, same characters, some actually had a bit less. We had Budokai 3, Tenkaichi, Tenkaichi 2, Tenkaichi 3, and I know Sparking Zero is supposed to be the next Tenkaichi, Tenkaichi 4. Obviously then we had Raging Blast in the future, Ultimate Tenkaichi, now we have Xenoverse, now we have Kakarot, Dragon Ball Fighters. The main story of each game never ever changed. Now if you look at other animes, yes, you have One Piece, Naruto, Bleach, Seven Deadly Sins. Even if you look at other comic books, the Marvel, the DC universes, which one of them have made as much games, has had as much impact on the world when it comes to gaming, when it comes to stories, the same retelling over and over and over again as Dragon Ball? The only content, the only stories I can think about is Star Wars and The Lord of the Rings, and that's about it. And both of them have game variations based on the main story, but most of them are based around the concepts and the world that was created. But I repeat this, Dragon Ball is the exact same story over and over again. And yes, we have a bit of spice thrown in there with the time patrol, but that's pretty much it. Just think about it. Every single game we go through, Goku defeating his brother Raditz, to the Emperor of the Universe Frieza, to unlocking the legendary transformation, Super Saiyan, to the coolest character in the anime, Future Trunks, replaying our boy Gohan achieving Super Saiyan 2, thrashing Cell in the baddest moments in possibly the entire moment of Dragon Ball Z, to the Bulwark we have Super Saiyan 3, Gotenks, Vegeta Sacrifice, Ultimate Gohan, all forms and variations of Buu, and finally watching the Spirit Bomb actually getting the job done. It is just perfect. And Sparking Zero, like other Dragon Ball games, especially from the ones in the past, like your Ultimate Tenkaichi, that has an array of characters. Yes, I know, even though some characters are just a different variation of a transformation, like we have Gohan Super Saiyan 1, Gohan Super Saiyan 2, which I really don't understand why, they're just wasting character space. But for the most part, there is a majority of the best characters through the entire Dragon Ball series, from the start where we might potentially see Goku, Piccolo, all the way to the latest Broly movie, and maybe Dragon Ball Super, maybe we might even have Sal Max. And the what if story modes on Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is going to be absolutely amazing, with plenty of content creators getting the channel started by creating what ifs, holding the whole community of Dragon Ball fans. This is going to be completely iconic and great for all the Dragon Ball fans around the world, with Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta and Super's Tournament of Power characters going to be playable online. This is going to be one of the best Dragon Ball games, if not one of the most important Dragon Ball games in quite some time, especially since Akira Toriyama's passing. This game is probably going to be one of the best Dragon Ball games, especially with all the hype that it has of all time. Let's go back to the statistics of Dragon Ball, with over 82 games made so far, and obviously there's still going to be a few more. Obviously we have your normal video games like Call of Duty, FIFA, and for the most part WWE wrestling games. These games are basically made every single year. And every single year, obviously, we have new cast of characters, new players breaking out, new maps, new guns, new playability factors. But Dragon Ball is a story that's been told for over 30 years, and still the story holds up as if it's the first time we watching it. I've played probably over 20 Dragon Ball games in my entire life, and every time I played it, it felt new, it felt fresh. I was happy to play it. I've probably finished the story mode over 20 times. I watched Dragon Ball once, Dragon Ball Z 3 times in entirety, Dragon Ball Super once. I've finished Dragon Ball GT once as well. But the constant retelling of the Dragon Ball games just keeps the story alive and well. And I think the Dragon Ball community is probably one of the best communities in any story ever told. Dragon Ball community is strong and stronger than ever. And going back to what I said about Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, obviously we had the main story, and then they branched off to a couple of side stories. I think Dragon Ball should be doing that and going in that direction in the future. Obviously we were introduced to the universes. In Dragon Ball Super we have Universe 7, our universe, then we're going to go to Universe 6, Universe 11, Universe 12, all of that. And I think Dragon Ball will potentially go on forever and ever and ever, into the far future, into many centuries further down the line. And the constant retelling of a story, one of the greatest stories ever told, just proves why Dragon Ball is one of the greatest stories ever told.